Okay, we're going to discuss how to use the quadratic formula in order to solve quadratic equations. The formula is the one that you can see on the screen. It's minus b plus minus square root of b squared minus 4ac divided all of that by 2a. Some information we need to know. This formula is used to solve quadratic equations. Also, a, b, and c are coefficients, or basically numbers of the equation. And the last thing, and super important, is that the equation needs to be equalized to 0 in order to use the formula. You cannot use the formula if the equation doesn't have an equal 0. There has to be an equal 0 in order to be able to do or to use this formula in particular. So this part is super important that we have it. If we don't, we need to move things in order to get it. As mentioned before, a, b, and c are only the numbers. So we're not going to use the letters. We're going to use the numbers that are supposed to appear in this part of the equation. A is always going to be the number that is with x squared, b is always going to be the number that is with x, and c is going to be the number that is alone, the independent term. So let's try to see some examples how we can use this formula to solve some exercises. Let's begin with a simple exercise like this one. 2x squared minus 5x equal 3. The first thing you need to notice is that this equation does not have an equal 0. So you need to move this one to the other side, and that way we're going to get an equal 0. So that's the first thing that we need to do. So we're going to put 2x squared minus 5x. This 3, we pass it to the left side, so it's going to become minus 3 equal, because I moved everything on this side, there's nothing else, I put 0. Now that I have the equal 0, now I can use the quadratic formula. So what is the formula? The formula is x equals negative b plus minus square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. What I'm going to do is I'm going to substitute the information that I have in here with those letters. So remember, the first number, the one that is the companion of x squared, that one is a. The second number, negative 5, the one that has the letter x, that number is b. And the last number, negative 3, the one that is alone, that one is c. I am going to change the letters of the formula with those numbers. Preferably, I'm going to put them inside parentheses. So let's do this. Minus of the formula. Notice that I'm copying the minus of the formula. And then I'm going to put b. Which number is b? Negative 5. So I'm going to put it inside parentheses. Negative 5. Plus minus. Square root of, instead of b, negative 5 inside parentheses. The squared is going to be outside of parentheses. Then I put minus 4. Inside parentheses, I'm going to put a. Which number is a? 2. Notice that I am not using the x. I'm only putting the number 2 times c. Which number is c? Negative 3. So I'm going to put negative 3. Now all of this has to be inside the square root. So I'm going to prolong this line in order for the square root to grab all of that. Then I'm going to put divided by 2. And notice that I have to put a. Which number is a? 2 in this case. Once I have that, I'm going to perform these operations. I'm going to perform 3 operations. 1, this one. 2, the one that is inside the square root. I am not going to use the square root. Super important. I am not going to use the square root. At least not yet. And 3, the one on the denominator. Those are the 3 operations that I have to do separately. You can use a calculator to try to get those answers. So x equals minus and minus 5 will be positive 5 plus minus square root. I am not going to use the square root, so only use the things inside parentheses. So in your calculator, put minus 5 squared minus 4 parentheses 2 parentheses minus 3. Only put that in your calculator. So if we do that using a calculator or in a separate piece of paper, we're going to get the answer 49. That's what we're going to put. Divided by 2 times 2, 4. What do I do next? Well, I'm going to copy it again, but this time I'm going to use the square root. So I'm going to copy 5 plus minus, but in this case I'm not going to put square root, okay? Be careful on that. I'm going to get the square root of this. Square root of 49. The square root of 49 is 7. And I copy the rest, divided by 4. Once I got rid of the square root, that's when I do this part. I split the exercise in 2 different routes. Each one is going to give me a different answer. So the first route is 5 plus 7 divided by 4. And the second route is 5 minus 7 divided by 4. I'm going to explain why plus here and why minus here, because the main operation is plus minus. There are 2 operations in here. One is plus, the other one is minus. So each one of them is going to become each route of the process. If I add 5 plus 7, I'm going to do that first. 5 plus 7, it will give me 12. And if I divide 12 by 4, I will get 3. Let's do the other part of the process. If I subtract 5 minus 7, I will get negative 2. And if I divide negative 2 with 4, I will get negative 0.5. That will be the answer of the process, up and down. Now, notice that I have 2 solutions. 3 is one of them, and minus 0.5 is the other one. So, how am I going to write the final answer for this? I'm going to write it like this. S, capital S, dot, another capital S, another dot, equal, curly bracket, and I'm going to put them, doesn't matter the order, but I prefer to put them in order, minus 0.5, comma, 3. And I close the curly bracket. That will be the answer of the equation. Now, what does S.S stand for? S.S basically means solution set. What does solution set mean? Well, solution set basically means the collection or the list of the answers. There are 2 answers, so I put them on a list inside curly brackets. That's what it means. So the answer will be S.S. equals minus 0.5, comma 3. That's how you solve an exercise using the quadratic formula. Let's do another example. Let's say we have an equation like this one. W squared plus 2W minus 15 equal 0. In this case, I already have the equal 0, so I don't need to move anything. And I have the 3 terms that I need in order to work with quadratic formula. So what I'm going to do is, immediately, I'm going to put the quadratic formula. But, heads up, the variable of this exercise is not x. The variable of this exercise is w. So I'm not going to put x equal. I'm going to put w equal. W equal minus b plus minus square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. That is the quadratic formula. Next, we're going to substitute. Okay, what are we going to substitute? Well, a is the first coefficient. If you don't see any number in here, remember, there's always an invisible 1. That means a is 1. B is the second number, positive 2. And C is the last number, negative 15. So those are the numbers I'm going to use to substitute in the formula. So minus is B, I'm going to put 2. Minus 2. Plus minus square root of 2 again, squared, minus 4. Instead of A, I'm going to put the invisible 1. And instead of C, I'm going to put minus 15. This thing needs to be prolonged because it has to grab the entire operations. And this thing is going to be divided by 2 times A. A, in this case, is 1, the invisible 1. So we substitute it that way. Once we have done this, remember, we need to perform this operation. And then the operations inside the square root, not using the square root, do not use the square root yet. And the denominator operation. So we're going to do those 3 operations. Minus and 2 is negative 2. Plus minus. If I put all of this in a calculator, but not the square root, okay, only the things inside, I will get the answer 64 divided by 2 times 1, 2. Once I've gotten that, I'm going to continue by finding the square root. The rest I'm just going to copy it. Minus 2 plus minus. The square root of 64 is 8 divided by 2. Once I have gotten that, I'm going to split it into 2 rows that I'm supposed to find. So there are going to be 2 rows because I already got the square root. The plus minus is going to split into minus 2 plus 8 divided by 2 and minus 2 minus 8 divided by 2. So the plus minus splits. In the first one, I have minus 2 plus 8. That's going to give me 6 positive. If I divide it by 2, it's going to give me an answer of 3. Now, in this other case, minus 2 minus 8 gives me minus 10. If I divide minus 10 with 2, I'm going to get the answer negative 5. That means the solution set, or the list of the answers, is s dot equals, inside curly bracket, minus 5 is one of the answers, comma, 3 is the other answer. And that will be the process that we use for solving exercises with quadratic formula. That's how we use the quadratic formula.